Hey, folks.
All right. Hello out there, Packer Nation, and welcome to the Absolute Packers podcast. This is episode number 53, which we're going to call Wonky in Winnipeg for obvious reasons, but that's yeah, he just almost spit out his coffee on that one. We'll talk about the preseason game, obviously, and then there's some other news about the roster and whatnot, and go over some player performances, stuff like that. So without further ado, I am Andrew Hetzel, and I'd like to give a shout out to my partners in crime here, Jeremy Hautala and Elliot Christensen. What's up, boys?
Regular season is what, 9 days away?
It's crazy, isn't it? My God.
10 days? 10, whatever it is, man.
That is awesome.
In a way, it's good, and in a way, it's like, I mean, when you get older, you blink and things are done. I mean, my daughter's 10. She's going to be. She's going in 5th grade. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, I'll never be as old as you, so that's.
Yeah, you'll always be older than me. There you go.
I doubt it. So one.
What a segue.
One quick thing, Mr. Jokester.
All right.
Hey, that's pretty awesome. Somebody just joined our Slack.
Oh, nice.
So
yes.
Everybody should join our Slack. They can go to absolutepacker.com/Slack. You guys should not go there yet because I didn't set it up yet, but it will magically be set up by the time this is released. And that's going to magically be an invite to join our Slack channel. So that's where people can chat with us and themselves about the podcast. And hopefully during game time, I think we have our little chat that we have, and we Dakota's in there, I think, and we chat during the game and about the games, and that's awesome. So I thought, there's lots of people that want to do this. So let's
kind of a social media within a social media, right? Maybe it's what's the way?
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of the best way to describe Slack for the listeners out there.
Slack is like Apple Messages or Facebook Messenger, but more people can join it, right? So
it's more consolidated. It's more, it's like broken down into
and I'm gonna add some cool features to it. So the other thing is it has an open API, so we can add some cool features to it. So watch for that. I'm not gonna give any spoilers because they might be really cool.
Okay.
And then the other thing. So for all things having to do with the podcast, including like subscribing, including the awesome blog posts that you guys both put out. I don't put very frequent or awesome blog posts, but you guys do. So go to absolutepacker.com, and that shows all the places you can play the podcast and all of the content that we kind of put out. So go there, anywhere you listen, hit like, hit subscribe, hit share. That's how people find out about this.
Sure. Good stuff.
Awesome.
Up front, because you're gonna turn this off before the end. Let's be honest. So, all right, let's get to it.
Nice. All these backhanded compliments, right? No, that's what make that.
Well, I mean, you're gonna fall asleep before we're done, and I mean, if you're falling asleep,
that's what makes us great. It's like we're so self-deprecating. It's ridiculous, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So, yeah.
I'm not. Nobody's self-deprecating. We're anti-deprecating.
We're self-defecating. I heard somebody say that the other day. You're self-defecating. I'm like, you're what? You hurt your what?
And it's your fault that we have to have the explicit rating on our podcast. We can't get more listeners because of you. You are the reason.
Oh Lord. Okay, I need to. Not Lord. I'll have to think of. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna think of better.
Well, your words and my laziness in editing, because I could bleep you, but I'm not going to.
It's passion. It's not naughty words. It's passion. No. All right. So jumping in, we had our third preseason game last week, another Thursday game, and it was Packers versus Raiders. They went to Canada to play this game, which, man, they traveled, Packers went, 500 miles or whatever, and the Raiders went 20,000 miles or whatever the heck it is. to basically get there and find out that the football field wasn't even ready to be played on. That was a disaster. That was a disaster for the league. That was just a disaster it was kind of a microcosm of preseason football in general. And, it was mismanaged. And, to be perfectly honest, I'm surprised they played that game. I saw them mulling around, Mark Murphy and those guys, they were in the end zone, like testing it out, looking at it. And I was like, there's no way they're going to do this. Because if anything, I would have thought that a lot of the players would be like, I don't want to play on that surface either. But now, I should preface by saying that, Aaron Rodgers was slated to start in this game. This was going to be basically his one piece of action during the whole, it was only going to be a couple series, I think. But, he was suited up and he was on the sideline and all the starters were. And then, it came out probably right before kickoff where Lefleur just said, nope. I think he made the right decision. He said, basically, we're going to sit all the starters and we're going to put all the second, third, and fourth stringers. We're going to put their livelihoods at risk at this crappy field. Which that in and of itself, I wrote a blog post about that, after the game. I think I titled it, Let's Cut the Crap, Shall We? Because it basically, it's like, quit trying to pull the wool over our eyes, NFL, about player safety because, okay, it's like a caste system in the NFL. If you're a starter, yeah, we'll pull you out there. But if you're trying to fight to make this team, your second, third, and fourth stringers, the condition of the field doesn't really matter as much, and we'll throw you out there. Even if you're just fighting for your very livelihood, it's not a good look in so many different ways. And the game was, I don't know how much you guys saw, but full disclosure, I watched the whole game. Which when you run a Packer podcast, you should watch the football games that your team is involved in. So I set my standards higher this time, and I watched the entire game. I know. Jeez.
Boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
I have a prize for you.
Oh boy.
What's your
You can get your very own Absolute
sticker?
Packer podcast sticker.
Cool. I'll take it. Even though I sourced them and I have them all.
So there it is. There it is for the rest of the episode.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on. We've gone off the rails already.
Make that two, because dude, you watched the whole game. That deserves 2 stickers.
Yeah. It's
Does it though?
Oh
no.
yeah.
It,
We've reached new heights with Andy this year.
Oh,
That's 2.
Okay, so I got to bring something up because I'm going to forget to bring this up later. So I was watching the game with I was down in Saukville for a wedding,
right.
and I was watching with my my current sister-in-law's dad. It's very complicated, but not.
All right.
But anyway, maybe I knew this and didn't understand or forgot, but remember our old coach? I know it's been a while, but there's this guy named Mike McCarthy.
Yep.
And do you guys know who he's married to?
Cress? Somebody Cress?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's...
Isn't that super weird?
Well, I know he still lives in Green Bay, I think, still, because he's got young kids that,
But I didn't realize that that's why though. The reason he didn't jump into another coaching gig is probably not because he completely is a terrible coach that is not in demand, but it part of it is that like his wife has a teaching job and she comes from a family with a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot, but I think she's from the Cress family. I don't know a whole lot, but yeah.
But her ex-husband was on the board of directors.
Okay. Yeah, it's a small world in Green Bay.
So that's sort of weird.
Yeah. Now, you didn't know about that, but you found out from your brother.
So he told me about it. I'm like, so that's weird that I never heard about that. And then I so I went to the Google and I typed in Mike McCarthy's wife, and sure enough, there's this giant article that like lists all this information on it. So anybody else can feel free to Google the same thing. But and I mean, because it is very public, I don't feel like it's like shameful rumors or anything. And I mean, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything scandalous or bad saying it, but it's just something that I didn't know about, and I think makes him seem less bad as a coach. Like I think we just felt like.
So it sounds like, Mark, you were under the impression that he wasn't leaving Green Bay because he didn't have more so it's just because he had a home here, but he didn't have a yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have any big opportunities.
Yeah, it was
and so he's like, whatever, I'm just gonna mope for a year. but it's like, no, he has like a vibrant family life, and he didn't get any awesome, so it's like going from 60-40 to 40-60. You know what I mean? It changes my vibe on the situation a little bit, right?
What's interesting about this year, as I think about it, since we're talking about this, when you think about what happens this year, particularly more so with Aaron Rodgers than anybody else, but I mean, how Aaron Rodgers does, not early on, I'm talking the whole year, is going to be, telling of how sought after McCarthy could be next year. I'm thinking about it, because if Rodgers really struggles, that's good for McCarthy in a weird, twisted way. If Rodgers does gangbusters, oh boy.
I know.
That's not going to be good for McCarthy at all. He might not get another gig. So,
right.
You know what I mean? I think there's a huge wait and see within the coaching community, the teams at large,
and it doesn't really mean it.
McCarthy.
Yeah. It might not be true, but that's the feeling everybody would have. Exactly. Yeah. You're so right. You're so right. Yeah.
Say it again.
You're so right.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up there. What was that?
All right, moving on. McCarthy lives in Green Bay. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so, but going back to the game, I mean, there were some bright spots, but in just a sec, it's still the preseason, but the Packers had actually escaped injury this preseason and training camp pretty well, but they suffered, I'll say, a large quantity of light to medium injuries in this game. And, I mean, the Raiders did too. People were getting kind of knocked around and whatnot, but did the field conditions have anything to do with that? Nobody even really mentioned, because they're like, oh, well, no, it's not the field because they only had it to be an 80-yard field. It was a shortened field. They didn't go in the end zone or whatever, but I'm going,
and they didn't do any kickoffs.
No, yeah. But it's just like St. Brown. I mean, if you get pinned in a certain way by being tackled, obviously, if you step on the field, the chances of getting injured go up anyway, right? It's football. You're going to get the chances of getting injured, or if you show up, period. But if you think about it, if you have a questionable field on top of that, that's part of the reason why I'm like, why would they even, if it's a regular season game, that's one thing. It's a preseason game. You're just like, cancel it, Again, that's my thought. Like Equanimeous St. Brown, he got a high ankle sprain. I can't remember the actual play, but I think he was getting tackled and all that. It wasn't like
he actually got hit, and there was leading with I forgot what they call it, but leading with the helmet. It was a helmet-to-helmet hit almost.
And it's like got caught kind of weird, I'm sure. But
and technically by the rule that is displayed by the NFL, he was liable to be ejected from the game. So the fact that he didn't kind of left a questionable impression with me, just because of the fact that they're very, very, very protective of players that are in defensible positions, and he was purely indefensible because he was being tackled, and the guy just went head to head with them.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to be out. It looked like he might have broke his ankle, and
I thought so.
It shredded it, and he might be out for the year. But apparently, he's only going to be out 4 to 6 weeks.
And this complicates things because now they have a huge dilemma at wide receiver. I mean, I was just going through right now, and I was trying to figure out who was going to make the team. And legitimately, I can only see 6 wide receivers making the team. The interesting thing that the EQ or ESQ, Equanimeous St. Brown, I can't pronounce his name.
I know.
What that
These
does,
acronyms are getting
right? What that does though is that if they want to put him on IR so that he can come back after
the early return,
early return, he has to be in the 53-man roster. So when they hand in the rosters Sunday at 3:00, he has to be in the 53-man roster. That means somebody like Darius Shepard, Alan Lazard could be released, or just keep somebody else or cut somebody else, like say Mercedes Lewis, knowing that probably he's not going to be picked up. There's going to be some scheming going on here with the roster, and that one really puts that's going to be
you're right.
Gary's position.
The wide receiver, we might as well just get at it now. I had kind of listed some receivers later, but why don't we just kind of go over them right now? It's a very interesting setup, and there's certain things that happen that during training camp and into this game that are kind of pleasant surprises, but you're like, like Trevor Davis is having a good camp. And he had a pretty good game, again, preseason game, but he had 2 really good catches in that game.
Yep.
Really good. And, he's looking great as a returner. I mean, I know he got hurt early on, I think during a return in the Houston Texans joint practice thing. But outside of that, he's been having a really good camp. I mean, he's going to make this team.
He'll be the 5th receiver, somewhere in that range.
And yeah, that's just the thing is like, I think anybody after 2, the number 2 receiver, or you could even say anybody after Devontae Adams, the law of diminishing returns takes effect. It's like you got Devontae's way up here, right? And then you got, number 2 is Geronimo. And then like, what's the difference between Geronimo, Kumaro, Shepard, Lazard, Equin, or 2? Let me take a step back. I'm sorry. Equanimous, or is it Martellus?
MVS.
MVS. Valdez.
Yeah.
So he's probably on a higher level than some of those guys. But 2 and 2A, I would say, would be MVS and Geronimo, I guess.
Yeah. I would
again,
say right.
The drop-offs, you got a clear number 1. But then you have kind of like, number 2. And then you got guys. Jags, as I like to call them. But at the same time, there's, like I said, there's interesting players. You got Kumaro is a very interesting player to me because, he's savvy. He gets open, and he's, a heady player, and he runs great routes. He's not fast, and you can't. What are these guys going to do against full competition? You're watching them play against a lot of second stringers and a lot of first stringers that are, vanilla defenses. But there's something there with Kumaro. And he's like, I think he's number 1 unit on the special team. So it's like he's going to make the roster. But, let's put it this way. If Kumaro, let's say, if he's like your number 2 or even 3 wide receiver, I don't know.
Here's the key. Your bottom of the roster, your players 23 for 45 on game day, they have to be able to play special teams. So that pretty much puts the Jake Kumaros, the Trevor Davises, the Darius Shepards into the play because of the fact that they can play everywhere besides receiver. That's where I think somebody like Alan Lazard, I think right now he's pretty much a one-trick pony as a wide receiver, but I think he's got more potential to be really, better than average as the years progress. But so then where does that leave them? Like, do you cut a guy like Shepard for Lazard? To me, you don't, because Shepard's more valuable. Just because of he can return kicks, he can return punts, he can play coverage, all coverages. And I don't think Lazard does. So
I'd take Shepard over Lazard. No doubt.
Yeah, I would too at this point, but that's a risky play because, like you said, they have a bunch of guys. Your locks are Devontae Adams, Geronimo Allison, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Other than that, everybody else is fighting for a job, literally. There's no other lock positions on this team besides those 3. And they're probably going to keep 6. It would not shock me if they kept 7. But, Equanimous St. Brown complicates the whole thing now just because he has to be on the roster when they make cuts in order to go on IR. And they're going to have to cut somebody and put them out in a susceptible position to being claimed off waivers. And that could hurt. That could be a Taysom Allen type or a Taysom Hill type deal where they wanted to get him and he was gone.
God. Yeah. You know what? Part of me, though, when I think about it, I go, okay, there's a risk in exposing, and I'll just bring up his name just because I was talking about him, but I'm not saying it's going to happen, Kumaro. But if you're so terrified of cutting a guy like Kumaro, what does that tell you? You know,
But-
if you're cut, I guess what I'm saying is a lot of these receivers are 4s and 5s on other teams. They're like 2s and 3s on ours, and that's where I'm kind of like, it's Devontae and a bunch of guys. You know, I mean, they're okay, but if you're, I guess it's just this, part of it's just, it's a situation we're in. We're still rebuilding from some of Ted's later mistakes. I mean, it's going to be probably a 3-year process. You know, let's call it what it is. We're going through a rebuild. It's like a mini rebuild, but we're going through a rebuild.
Okay, so I don't understand this process. So and I'm probably not the only one. So why do we have to put him on IR?
Because he's going to be out up to 6 weeks.
Yeah, you can't put him on the PUP.
No.
Why?
Because the PUP is what it's can't remember the stipulations around that. Well, actually, I mean, isn't that 8 weeks?
Yeah, I think is it 6? I think it's 6 weeks.
Okay, so
I'm not sure.
maybe I know what you're saying. It's like on the obviously even short-term IR is longer than the PUP, from what I understand.
Right.
So is that what you're asking, Elliot? Like if you could?
I'm not sure. I mean, so what are the different requirements for why?
Well, if he doesn't make the team, he's going to get picked up. Is basically what's going to happen. They'd have to cut him. You know, and that's the risk.
So if he wasn't injured, what would we be doing?
He'd be making the team.
Okay, let me throw this
He'd be
at you.
playing some special teams, like what Jeremy's saying is, you got a guy who can play receiver. I mean, Devontae's not playing special teams. He's your golden boy, number one.
Yeah.
He's not going to get hurt.
Right.
But these other guys,
Yeah.
they're valuable from the standpoint that they also need him to play special teams. So they're kind of like, they do two things, if you will.
And you think that he is valuable for special teams as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'll put this out there for you, Ellis. So maybe this will hopefully clear up some of the confusion. Let's say, for example, they cut Equanimeous St. Brown.
Right.
Basically, that puts him on the street,
Mhm.
and he's a unrestricted free agent. Any team can pick him up.
Yeah.
If they were to keep him, and then let's say they try to risk, keeping him on the roster at the expense of a roster spot, they're going to be roughly 5 to 6 weeks with a receiver that's on the roster that can't play. So ultimately what they want to do is put him on short-term IR. And what that does is it gives him 8 weeks to get back.
Mm-hmm.
They can only take now, I think it's 1 or 2 players. I can't remember if it's 2. Okay. So 2 players they can put on IR and they can come back after 8 weeks. That was a new rule because I think back in the day it was 1 when they first started the rule. So
it used to be when you're on IR, period.
Period. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're gone for the season no matter what. The short-term IR thing is within the past 5 years, 5-6 years.
That's a good point. Yep. So if they put him on IR, they protect his roster status because they have no chance of losing him because they own his rights because he's still under contract. He's still under team control.
Right.
They don't have the chance of losing him if they put him or they cut him.
Yeah.
Because when you cut a player,
you expose him to other teams.
Expose him to other teams.
Okay.
Just like Josh Jones. If they just released Josh Jones, he had to go through a 24-hour process where teams in order, and it's based off of record, teams in a certain order can pick him up. And, obviously, who was the worst?
They call it a waiver claim.
Arizona. Right.
Yeah.
Arizona had the first opportunity to pick him up. They didn't. 32 teams didn't pick up. So now he's an unrestricted free agent who can sign with anybody he wants.
That's crazy.
And he didn't get picked up, or he didn't get picked up off of waivers. So
we might as well hop into that. Hold on real quick. I'm sorry. Josh Jones is on here next, coming up pretty soon here. So just finishing out that game, the preseason game. I mean, you had a couple. I think there was an inside linebacker. It might have been a backup or whoever got hurt. There were a lot of banged up guys. The next guy I had on the list here to talk about was Rashan Gary. Their number, the overall 12th overall pick.
Right.
Man, he's had a very nondescript preseason in general. He hasn't done anything. He has no stats even. They're asking him to do a lot or whatever. But man, It's
Yeah.
troubling to say the least. And then he got hurt early in that game. And I looked at him like, oh boy, maybe he got a concussion. And then the second time he got injured, he got put in a weird position, like bent back or something like that. And I thought, oh, that looked worse. But he apparently he's okay because he was back. I believe he was practicing
Today. Yep.
Yeah, so he's back. But man, I'm telling you, for a number 12 overall pick, I know again, I know it's the preseason, but just in terms of, and they said, oh, he looks great in camp and blah blah. Still, man, it's got like this Justin Harrell feel to him or something, who was another high pick who just didn't.
But this is not his. This is not his fault. And that
I know
was
where this is going.
That was the problem, because when everybody was coming up to the draft, everybody thought he was going to be a top 5 pick. They thought the Raiders were definitely going to pick him up, but they saw concerns with him just because of his lack of production in college. So he has lack of production in college, and then you put him at a position of outside linebacker that you have to be skilled, more so just physically
it's not
skilled.
go get.
You have to have the mental capability to.
You have to drop in coverage,
right?
And
how to
you
figure
got
out
to read defenses more. Where if you're a defensive end, I'm sorry, they just go stick quarterback. It's like that's all you got to do.
And you need a rush plan. I mean, that's the most important thing, is you have to have a rush plan. You talk to any outside linebacker, and I've read a bunch of outside linebacker coaches that say the first thing that they want is somebody who's got a rush plan to play outside linebacker. If you don't, you can't play it. He's not there yet. So he's way behind in advancement of the NFL game, and then you put him at a position that is meant for guys that are well beyond their rookie years and are veterans and have done it before. They're going to ruin him.
They're Nick Perry in him.
Just like they ruined Nick Perry, just like they ruined Josh Jones by putting him at linebacker.
Yeah.
When he's a defensive end, right?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
But is he? He's not as big enough to be one. But I think I know where you're going. He's a guy where it's like, go get the quarterback. Period. Don't worry about falling in coverage. Don't worry about reading this. Don't worry about disguising this. You just go get this guy.
And he's outside of the tackle. And I wrote a blog about this, kind of explaining how that worked. But I think where he would be very productive is at a 3 technique. And a 3 technique would be in the gap between the center and the guard. I think that's where his speed and his strength could take advantage of teams like the Detroit Lions, who are kind of weak inside.
Maybe they'll do that when the regular season comes. I don't know. I mean, they're not doing. I don't know. Maybe.
It depends on who they keep for defensive line. I mean, right now,
or maybe they're just saying they're being so vanilla in preseason. They're just like, "Ooh, let's just shove him over here." And I don't know. I'm trying to think of something.
You don't shove a player who is in the game out there. I don't understand that, and I'm very perturbed by it because they have a long-standing history of doing this to players.
Yeah, you mentioned Nick Perry.
Dayton Jones was another one. I mean,
still on the street.
Yeah.
They gave him $60 million 2 years ago, and this guy is on the street. Nobody has picked him up, Elliot, for nothing. Now, sometimes they go, well, somebody gets injured, but the guy was a first-round pick, made a huge contract, and he is sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring, Nick Perry. I was stunned to hear that he is still completely out of the league. That is incredible.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So, I hate to say wait and see with Rashan Gary, but geez, we're going to have to, I mean, it's right now, it's just, I'm concerned because it's just, there's nothing, he's not even getting like assisted tackles or anything. He's not getting any quarterback pressures, but he's not even like cleaning up on the run or this or that.
No.
He's just kind of, there. So.
And this is where I hate to pat Clay Matthews in the back, but Clay Matthews typically never gave up on any down. I mean, last year, he was always after the ball. Rashan Gary through 3 games, that's the one thing that I've seen from him. And I don't know if it's just because he doesn't have, like I said, the rush plan to figure it out.
And I don't know what
but once he gets
to do. Sorry.
And I mean, rush to pass, that's all they're asking him to do.
Well, if he is, the reason I say that is that if they're telling him, hey, I can imagine Pettine pull it aside or something saying, look, it's preseason, you're playing outside linebacker, just, I don't want to say dog it or whatever, or don't do this, but just, do the bare minimum or something like that.
There was an unnamed scout.
I'm trying to protect him or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, and I that's what I'm trying to do too.
I hope that's it, because if not, we're in trouble.
There was an unnamed scout, and I never got to figure out who it was, but he compared Rashan Gary to Aaron Donald when he came out of Pittsburgh, and said that his rush plan was kind of limited, but he had all the physical skills to be a dynamic pass rusher. So what did they do? They put him inside. They let him learn the game. I mean, they didn't just put him at a position he never played. And the scout was very hesitant to say, if you put him at outside linebacker, he wasn't going to say that he wasn't going to be a player, but he was saying that you're not utilizing the skills that this man has.
Square peg, round hole. You're setting him up just like Perry. Perry was never an outside linebacker. Never meant to be one. And that, God, I killed his career when you think about it. I mean, he got hurt a lot too, but still. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what else there is much to say. I mean, at least, thank God he didn't get hurt, bad. I'm sure he got banged up, but yeah, we gotta see more out of him. I think that goes without saying.
He's still young. That's what we have to look forward to. He's not like a Clay Matthews and Nick Perry who are at the tail end.
Season of his rookie year, and I mean, there are a lot of caveats and whatnot, but again, it's like, you're at 0 right now. You'd hope you'd be at like 2. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Okay, so speaking of players, that have been drafted and not worked out in their high picks. Josh Jones was released yesterday, I think it was, or today. I can't keep up, but he was released either today or yesterday. And man, he was a second round pick. 2017.
17.
And I mean, another guy who he was a great athlete, but was he a safety? Was he a linebacker? Never really knew. High pick, off the team, gone, cut. Not traded, not nothing. I mean, just another in the latter part of Ted's, he was the last draft. In the latter part of Ted's, he's kind of a microcosm of that. Just another guy who you hate to say it was a wasted pick, man. He never did much of anything.
Their last three,
him,
their last 3 second round draft picks from 15 to 17 are all gone.
That's insane.
Quentin Rollins.
That tells you so much, right?
Spriggs and Josh Jones.
That is crazy.
You cannot have that type of failure and expect to be a competitive team at year in and year out. You just cannot do that.
Especially during Ted's tenure when he never signed free agents.
Right.
If you're so that's it just was crushing, it really was. And it's just, I mean, it's sad, it's disappointing, but and then nobody even claimed him. The guy was a second round pick. Yeah. Nobody even put in a waiver claim on the guy. What can you say? I mean, I'll give Gutekunst credit for, cutting bait, with a lot of these players that apparently need to get cut. But, they're all he's not afraid to cut Ted's picks by any means. We'll see how afraid he is to cut his own picks.
Yeah. With that Jamal Moore. So.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else about Josh Jones. I mean, they were going to try him at inside linebacker, but then he's like, I don't want to do that. And then he said he requested a trade before camp even started, but then he showed up, and it was like, I didn't see him making the team anyway, but
no.
But it's just kind of the long line of, I mean, look at some of these like you had meant, Dayton Jones, Nick Perry, so many either tweeners or just guys playing out of position in a different defense. For what? For what reason? And half these guys left the team, and they're freaking Pro Bowlers. The Micah Hydes, the Casey Haywards, the Demarius Randall goes to play safety in Cleveland. And I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowler, he's playing better. It really makes you wonder what the hell is going on. Even with the coaching staff, let alone, Ted drafting.
I don't understand their if they need an outside linebacker, you draft one. You don't draft a guy that's never played it and then expect them in his rookie season to do anything. You got to draft the position and the player. You cannot just be putting them out of position.
Yes, I completely. And it was speaking of
stop that.
That's another good segue, sir. Inside linebacker is a wasteland still. Now, Blake Martinez, like I said, averaged above average. He's solid starter. I don't know if he's much of a coverage linebacker, but he's great against the run. He's a pretty solid player. But everything Everything they got next to him is hurt or nothing. And they're bringing it. They brought in, I think, an undrafted free agent from Baltimore because that scout that they hired away from the Ravens is picking up a lot of ex-Ravens players. Which, I mean, it makes sense. You go with the devil you know, the devil you know, as they say, or whatever. But still, it's I look at it and I go, he's okay. They're bringing a lot of these undrafted free agents. That reeks of Ted. A lot of Ted. Make a trade, sign a veteran. But apparently, Gutekunst is kind of like Ted in that I don't think they value inside linebacker. It could be as simple as that.
Proof is in the pudding. I mean, when's the last inside linebacker they've drafted?
Another defensive coordinator, from Capers to Pettine, from Ted to Gutekunst, inside linebacker, man. But I mean, when you need a guy who can cover on third down, just wait till you start giving up completion after completion against guys who just can't keep up with tight ends, let alone it's. So I don't know. Right. I don't know what the hell they're going to do unless they draft an inside linebacker high. What's the highest draft pick they spent on an inside linebacker in the past 10 years?
Nick Barnett.
10 years. That was like 2003.
AJ
Maybe
Hawk.
That might have even been. Well, that was even more than 10 years ago too. That was 2006.
That's all I can remember.
See,
wow.
We're talking probably, AJ Hawk was a top 10 pick.
That's crazy.
Number 5.
That is, yeah. But so they just, I'm trying to maybe third. What was Jake Ryan? Fourth, usually fourth, fifth round.
Jake Ryan was fourth, and so was Blake Martinez.
So, and again, Blake is, he's pretty good. I'll say good, pretty good. But he's just one guy. If he's got a bunch of junk next to him, it's going to expose him even more. So I don't know what their plan is, and whoever the backup was, I can't remember his name, but he got hurt, I think, in that preseason game. I think he was something. I recall I think they were saying one of them was either in a walking boot or he did something with his hamstring or something because it could have been that damn field. But anyway, I don't. Right now, they're taking the Ted, throwing a free agent, undrafted free agent from some other team that's been on 6 different teams in 6 years and hope it sticks. But it hasn't worked in the past. So
no, has not.
Okay, so I have a bit on here about Dexter Williams, I think he's 6th round running back. A lot of talent, but I think he's in danger of not making the team because he can't catch the ball at all. And for whatever reason, Lefleur keeps calling him out in practice about, I don't know, it could be about catching the ball sometimes. But, I mean, he's a one cut and go. He's got a lot of speed. I think, if he could catch the ball decently, he'd probably be kind of a sleeper pick. But right now I think he's 3rd on the depth chart or maybe 4th. So he might be 4th because I think it's
Tra Carson.
Yeah, he's 3rd. So it's Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, Tra Carson, and then Dexter. They're not going to keep 4 running backs. So, he might not make the team.
That would be a very, very risky ploy to make because somebody's going to pick him up, and then he's going to just light up the league. He's got that type of ability.
So you're going to keep 4 running backs?
Maybe you take him over Carson. That's the thing. And then you have 3, and you let Carson go.
Okay, let's compare the ability for the player to actually make it through waivers. Tra Carson has made it through waivers multiple times already.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Dexter Williams has not.
Yeah.
So, and he's a rookie, so he's green as grass. I mean, he has all the ability in the world, and teams are going to take a chance on that. Where Tra Carson is a one-trick pony. He can do everything pretty good, but he's not going to be starter material.
Williams he's a one-cut fast go.
He is. He needs time though.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously needs a lot of practice catching the ball on screens and stuff like that. But when it comes to just cutting and running, he's pretty good.
They're gonna. I mean, honestly, when cuts all transpire, they're gonna pick somebody up. I really have a.
I agree too.
I don't have a good feeling they're gonna go into the year with 3 running backs and a fullback. that would be just a recipe for disaster because Aaron Jones is hurt, pretty much all the time.
That's the
and,
problem right there, Elliot, is that, like you were saying, Aaron Jones can't stay healthy,
Yeah.
and Jamal Williams has been hurt the whole damn camp, basically. So their top 2 running backs aren't healthy.
I did read a rumor yesterday that Gutekunst is out there talking to teams about a trade for a running back. So he's looking to fulfill that backup.
Would you rather do
running back
that with a inside linebacker?
They don't value inside linebackers. They're never going to do that.
No.
They're going to pick up 1-year starters from Oklahoma and put them in a starting position. That's what they did with Curtis Fulton. And I'm not downplaying the guy, but
Well,
no words.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know what they're going to do with Williams, but he's on the bubble. Let's put it that way. And the thing that's killing him is he can't catch the damn ball. If he could catch the ball on screens and stuff like that, he might even be a number 2,
And he's not assignment sure either. So
yeah, the thing I saw, Lefleur said he wasn't consistent enough. He said that he said there's a couple plays. That's the baseline. You need to be that good all the time. So
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. But then let's see. So moving on. Now we're into quarterbacks. So the battle of mediocrity.
I'd let them both go. They should both go. They're terrible.
yeah, I have no problem with that.
Well,
honestly,
guess who leads
terrible.
season in pass rating?
If we have to play with one of those guys, we're done. It doesn't matter. We might as well put somebody else in.
That's crazy, but it's true.
Might as well put Devontae Adams in quarterback.
But see, here's what's funny. It's like Tim Boyle. He looked halfway decent. I think he threw 2 touchdown passes in the 2 or 3 in the Raider game, and he had some decent throws, but still he was very inconsistent. And then Kaiser was Kaiser. He had one really good throw where he slung it over the middle about 20 yards and led a receiver, but I think that receiver got hurt too because he had.
If I gave you 50 throws, you'd have a good one though, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I was talking about inside linebacker and how the Packers don't value it. They don't value backup quarterback worth squadoosh. It is.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, I think they've been. I don't know. They've been a little unlucky, and what's his name that went to New Orleans? Yeah,
Taysom Hill.
That was a bad stroke of luck.
No, it's because McCarthy's offense would never use that guy for his skills.
Right.
Never. I mean, I understand why they cut him, but it also was an indictment of McCarthy and his scheme. They're like, we have this really talented player who happens to be a quarterback, and we have no room for him. Not in my scheme. You're like, pfft. That says everything you need to do there. But, I mean, who was the last decent backup quarterback? Matt Flynn, right?
Matt Flynn.
I'm serious.
I don't know.
Oh, you tell me then. Who's the last decent backup quarterback?
Aaron Rodgers.
But seriously, Elliot, who's the last decent backup?
You are right. You are absolutely right. That is the answer.
That
is the answer.
Seneca Wallace, Vince Young, freaking Joe
no,
Callahan, Graham
no,
Harrell. I mean,
no.
None of these guys could play. They all knew it. But again, the Packers, I think, like inside linebacker, they don't value backup quarterback because I think in their heart of hearts they just go, well, if Rodgers goes down, we're screwed.
That's just a horrible way to look at
it.
It's
a terrible way to look at it because if you could get a guy, see, none of these guys could win a game. If you can find guys who could win a game or maybe 2 games in like a 5-game stretch.
Wait.
Help.
So because you're calling this wonky in Winnipeg, all of a sudden you have a Canadian accent. What is your deal, dude? Game.
I don't know. It's past my bedtime.
I know you're rubbing your eyes. Game.
I'm speaking in tongues.
Get Andy a spray bottle.
All of those things are true. I mean,
but
yeah.
There's like I think it's there's been 2 or 3 veteran quarterbacks that have signed with other teams in the past 2 weeks that, again, they're nothing to write home about, but they're miles ahead of Boyle and frickin' Kaiser. And the Packers I don't think we've been even in a discussion with any of them. And a lot of them are just like 1 year veteran, whatever, which is fine.
Well, did Andrew Luck retire with tears?
He did a little.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
You want to go get Andrew Luck?
If you retire with tears, that usually means that you're ready to sign somewhere else, right?
No,
Isn't that what that means?
Marv and his crocodile. Wouldn't that be hilarious? We signed Andrew Luck to like $500,000 backup to Aaron Rodgers. Oh my God.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, what can I say? So, I mean, Boyle had his best game, but it was against second and third stringers, and it still was inconsistent. And Kaiser was.
Neither one looked stellar.
Neither one of them are the answer for even a game. Sorry. I mean, I don't know their plan.
Well, I hate to throw the Patriots back into the conversation, but since Tom Brady has been there, they've had a pretty decent backup quarterback behind him, because they know that Tom Brady is not invincible. The same thing can be said for Aaron Rodgers. They've had Brian Hoyer, that Jimmy Garoppolo, that Jacoby Brissett,
Castle went 11-5.
Matt Castle.
Castle went 11-5.
Right. Go down the list.
And then Garoppolo. Yeah, they drafted Garoppolo in the second round, didn't they?
It was top. Yeah, it was top.
He was a second round pick, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he got hurt last year, I think, in San Francisco, right? Like he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So, but
and
they had competent backups in New England. The one that comes to mind, and it's probably more the system than anything, is Castle, because Brady got hurt the first game that season. He tore his ACL the first game, and they went 11-5 with a freaking backup quarterback. Jesus. Just imagine that. So I don't know. I mean, do you think, are they going to carry, do they both make, they're not both going to make. So who's it going to be? Bill?
It's going to be Boyle.
I think so too.
As sad as that is,
traded Demarius Randall for Kaiser. So many just, I don't know. It wouldn't be surprised if they keep Kaiser though, because that's Gutekunst's boy.
No. He hasn't done anything there in a roster spot.
Was Kaiser a first round?
Right.
No, he was a later round pick. I don't remember exactly.
You sure?
Okay, let me find that.
I thought he was like a first round pick. I could be.
No. Sean Kaiser.
I know that. I'm young.
Second round.
Oh, come on. You can't be young.
No, but I know. He played on that 0-16 Browns team, though.
He started all 15 games of that year, and he was drafted in the second round.
Okay, so he's still high now. But so their plan at backup quarterback is similar to inside linebacker. I just don't think they value it. I don't know what else to say because their actions prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about wide receivers a little bit earlier, and we even talked about inside linebacker. Just being an issue, it is what it is. So, that's about all we got for this week. One thing I would like to mention quickly, though, if we could, was Andrew Luck retired. We were joking about him, obviously, just a couple minutes ago about bringing him back up. But, man, that came out of nowhere. But good for him, when the news came out. But the Colts were actually playing. That was really awkward how that was happening in real time. And then, like, when the game was over, they ushered him off the field and people were booing him. And he does the press conference. But part of me is just like for him because he's in the prime of his career. He's a generational talent. But they showed a list of his injuries he's had since he's been in the league. And he's had like a dozen significant injuries.
Like every year. And
I think he made a comment, something along the lines of, his whole career had been just, rehab.
Yeah.
Past, 5 or not 5, because he's only been in the league 6 years, but let's say 3 or 4 years is just constant rehab, and it took the joy out of the game. So again, it sucks for Indianapolis, and the timing's weird and all that, but part of me is like, good for him. And I think the Colts in some way.
Is that your bedtime timer?
No, it's my med time.
Meds.
Yeah, my meth timer. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, it's gonna be on Netflix. There's gonna be a Breaking Bad movie.
Saw that.
What?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I saw
yeah.
some of the preview with
Yeah,
is it Aaron Paul or whatever?
yeah.
Did you see the new Star Wars trailer?
I didn't see that, so we got to get off so I can go do that. But
you want to? Here's a spoiler: Ray becomes a backup quarterback.
Oh, for the Patriots.
The dark side. Right. I just wanted to talk about luck for a little bit there. Actually, the last thing I would like to talk about would be, and I had on the list more so for you guys, but I've been putting together, this is for the other fans out there and whatnot, I've been honing some of my Photoshop skills and putting together Packer, I'll call them wallpapers, digital art, photo scenes, if you will. I've done 3 so far, 2 which I think are pretty good. The first one was just dinking around with. One was Kenny Clark, and then the newest one that's going to come out soon, I'm going to release it. I'll release it on the Absolute Packer podcast page, and then I'm going to try and find a way to share it for the viewers so they can put on a wallpaper on their phone or their desktop or whatever, high res. It's going to be Packers versus Bears for the opener. I'm going to try and do those. I don't know if I'll be able to do every game because they're pretty intensive to put together. They're fun and they turn out really cool, but they take a lot of work. So I'm going to try and do maybe half a dozen if I can during the season and just get them out there to people. So I try to make them kind of silly, kind of cool, and they're just like surreal, makeshift photo scenes, if you will. They call them Photoshop composites. So the bear one's coming out. These guys got a sneak peek. I gave them the high res link to the high res. It's pretty cool. I think it's kind of silly, but it's pretty cool too. So
it's fantastic. This one is spectacular.
I said it was my crowning achievement thus far. I like the Kenny Clark.
You know what?
This latest one's pretty good.
I'm sure at some point you're gonna outdo this, but this is killer. To kick off the season, nothing gets me. This is I'm in full Packer mode. I mean, I know we were kind of down on a lot of things talking through this today, but that picture revs me right back up. I'm all in on the first game, man. It's so good.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of all coming to a head.
Yeah.
I think I might hold out on releasing it until like a couple days before the season actually starts. I was going to do it kind of, but I'm like, you know what? I put out one little teaser image, but on this one, I think I'll save it until like a couple days before.
We can totally put them on the website. We can just have them on the website, however you want to do that.
I'm thinking just have it linked to download, whatever. I'll make it whatever. I need to make sure that they're sized appropriately, if you will, because like when I started making them at first, it was just like, oh, this is a nice big high resolution image, but the proportions or whatever weren't sized completely the way they need to for like smartphones and or desktops. They were more so for desktops, but you're like,
yep.
So anyway, I'll clean that up and I'll have it in like different. I'll say here's iPhone, here's maybe tablet, and here's desktop. They all look decent, but I have the Aaron Rodgers one with the Bears that I just finished. It's on my phone, but yeah. So I just wanted to put that out there because I'm going to be doing. I try to one up each one I do to make them look cooler or more clever, and it's just fun to do. So, yep.
Yeah, they're going to get more challenging because if you're trying to one up the previous one,
exactly,
pretty freaking good.
I know.
It's fun, and it's part of the reason I'm doing it is to. I mean, I want to give something back to the fans, and I'm passionate about it and all that. And but I want to get my Photoshop chops up, the workflow, and also just get my work out there because it's graphic design, and I like doing sports graphic design if I can too. So it's kind of serves 3 purposes, if you will. But hopefully people can give some feedback on it too. So we'll find a way to put a link on. We could probably put Slack or whatever. There's a Google Drive link on there too and whatnot. Or anyway, I think we can figure that out.
Yeah, but no, I think it should go on the website. I think I think everything should be on there, and I'll go through the details with you, but we can have like each of your designs. If you want to make them like wallpaper things, we can have you click through on the design, and then you have all the different sizes. Boom.
Yep.
And make that super easy to do. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I think
it'd be cool.
Agreed. So it's fun. Like I said, I love creating those. Those are like the perfect mixture of, all things I love. Design, silliness, art, sports. It's just like, so it's everything about it's fun and cool. So,
and they're awesome, and people are.
yeah,
I love
I go
these.
all out. You guys
Yeah.
will notice I don't put together little rinky-dink things. I
No.
really, I pay attention
No.
to a lot of details.
Mhm.
Anyway,
No
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah.
cool. So that's my.
So everybody should go and right away share those images and whatever we have up there. I'm gonna try to make some space for Andy
Yeah, they're going to be super high res. That's for sure.
Yeah, so to get that up as soon as possible. So hopefully there's some up on absolutepacker.com. Please share the episode. Please rate the episode. And I don't have anything else. Go Pack Go.
I'm good too. Go Pack Go.
I have two last things.
Oh,
Yeah.
denied.
We didn't even talk about this Thursday's game, which is the last preseason game against Kansas City at home, 7:00, CBS. I think it is local. Last preseason game, and then Sunday by 3, 53-man roster will be set, and we will be ready to tackle the Bears on Thursday Night Football to open the 2019 season.
Cool.
Mhm.
Well,
Wow.
we didn't talk about the Kansas City thing, but we did kind of talk about the other things.
I might flip a
Oh,
coin.
no,
I should be watching every game, but I might just flip a coin on that one.
You know what? You got to do an image of you with your leather helmet.
Yeah, you like that?
Oh,
my
that
God,
was sweet.
You know where I came up with that? I was cleaning because my basement flooded like 3 weeks ago, and I had to like take care and move a bunch of stuff around. And I found this box, and I had that. It was like a Packer. I don't know. I bought it somewhere, but it's like a fake leather helmet. It's more so for like a decoration in like a man cave or something like that. But I found it in this box, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. I was like, and I told my daughter, I said, get a picture of me pretending to watch the game wearing this thing.
Oh, man.
So that's where that came from.
I think we need to have like an after show that we release separately. That's just Andy in his drifting off to sleep rantings.
They're all value added though.
Yeah, it'll have to. That's something we can charge money for. People will pay for that.
I resemble that remark.
Resemble.
You guys want to meet up for the game on Thursday?
Oh, what do I got? I have my daughter, but I mean, it's possible.
We could meet up somewhere, and then
Can't be at
we
a
could
bar or a strip joint.
yeah.
His face.
We're not carrying you out, Andy. So because we know 9:00 rolls around, you got to be carried out and go to bed.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Jesus Christ! You guys are ruthless.
brutal.
We are.
We
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah.
I know.
This is why we want to see you in person. So the daggers are much more. They can impact you deeper.
You can twist them.
We can twist them in person.
Jesus Christ.
You know, imagine what if you're not around.
Oh boy.
It's much worse.
I don't even want to.
All right, so now we can give our Go Pack Goes.
Okay. Go Pack Up.
Go Pack Go.
I just want
Pack
to
Up.
go Pack Up. That was a good one.
Podcast.
I know, right?